ES Audio. From the Evening Standard in London, I'm Rachel Abbott and this is The Leader. Today we're giving you some bonus content taken from our business show, How to Be a CEO. An opportunity to hear from the most powerful people behind some of the world's biggest brands. This is a cut-down version of the full episode. To hear the full thing, hit the link in the show notes. Find a new episode of How to Be a CEO every Monday morning, and why not give it a rate and follow whilst you're there? Now, let's begin.
Putting pocket money in the piggy bank is as traditional as the tooth fairy slipping some of it under the pillow at night. But in a cashless society, how do kids get their rewards?
When I looked at what I was doing back in 2012, I was using my card and I was going to the ATM and getting money out, and contactless had just arrived in the UK.
Louise Hill is the founder of GoHenry and its chief operating officer, the prepaid debit card for kids starting at 6 years old. Well, they've got to learn sometime, right?
For me, there was a clear path that we were going down, and we'd left our kids behind. And if we didn't teach them to use money the way we were using money, then we were going to be bringing up a generation of kids who were disadvantaged.
GoHenry's gone from an idea written out in a London restaurant to a company with more than 2 million users in the UK and US. It's now entering the French market with the acquisition of Pixpay. I'm David Marsden from the Evening Standard, and this is How to Be a CEO. Louise, GoHenry's been around for, I think, about a decade now. Why did you create this in the first place? Why did you think, do you know what kids need is a bank card?
My own kids. So my kids were lucky enough to have been given iPods for Christmas or birthdays. And I always say very stupidly, I'd given them the login to my iTunes account, and they were having a great time downloading music without a care in the world, and certainly without any concept that they were spending money. And I was trying to figure out as a parent, how do I teach them that is spending money, and that every time they click that button, they're spending money that they haven't got, and it was costing me. So I started off printing out the invoices that iTunes used to send you for every tune that you downloaded, and sticking them on the fridge. And then on a Saturday, when the two of them were stood in front of me with their hands out expecting their pocket money, we would have this dreadful conversation about, well, normally I'd give you £5, but actually you spent whatever it was, £4.20 on music this week, so you're only going to get 80 pence. And I'd have this sad little face in front of me, and the phrase I've used in the past is mum was the bad guy again. And it was talking to other parents. So I sort of joked about that with other parents to see if they'd got a way of solving this problem. And all the stories started to come out about children who'd run up great big bills on their game stations or gaming platforms. One little boy, his mother had been looking out of the living room window and had seen a flatbed truck draw up outside with a car on it, which her son had bought on eBay. He thought it was a model. It's a true story. It's a true story. One of the parents whose kids were at the same school as my two. And, that kind of made me think, well, we're all having this same problem. Surely there is something out there that helps parents deal with this. And that's where the conversation started. I and two other parents started to meet every Thursday evening for a curry at our local curry house down here on the south coast in Lymington, and try to see whether actually we'd found a gap in the market, and if we had done, could we find a way to build something that would solve this problem, and could we build it into a viable business? And ultimately GoHenry was born.
Yeah, I think after 10 years you can call yourself a viable business now, can't you? I
hope so.
I think that's worked out. What I think is particularly forward thinking, though, is that 10 years ago children would still be getting their pocket money as like a £5 note or with change, but we have moved into a cashless society. We had the pandemic. Were you kind of looking to the future and seeing at some point handing cash over is going to be outdated? Children are going to have to use cards.
I think for me at the time, it was already apparent that we needed some way to catch up for our kids because we had already left them behind. When I looked at what I was doing back in 2012, I was using my card and I was going to the ATM and getting money out, and contactless had just arrived in the UK. And I think at the point where we launched, Tesco's, McDonald's and WH Smith were the only people who'd rolled out contactless technology to their point of sale terminals. So, contactless was pretty new, but it was evident that people were shopping online, and that is the way the world was going to go. You're absolutely right. During the pandemic, it accelerated hugely, and I think that was largely people being stuck at home and having to shop online. And I think parents saw their kids using money and needing to have access to digital money at that point in time, and that certainly helped accelerate our growth. We actually more than doubled our turnover during the pandemic to $42 million a year. I'm very mindful an awful lot of businesses were not as lucky during the pandemic, but it did help us. But I think, that for me, there was a clear path that we were going down, and we'd left our kids behind. And if we didn't teach them to use money the way we were using money, then we were going to be bringing up a generation of kids who were disadvantaged. And as a mum, as a parent, I didn't want that to happen.
Let's go to the ads now. And while they're on, why not hit your follow button on your podcast provider? A little rate and review would be nice too. As a parent sitting in a curry house, though, going, this is a good idea. I mean, at what point during this process did you go, how do we do this?
There have been many times over the past 10 years where I've gone, how do we do this? My background, I usually say to people, I was in e-com when it used to be called home shopping. So I actually started in retail, but then very swiftly moved across to what was home shopping, and as the internet started to roll out, was starting to turn into e-com, and was lucky enough to be involved with a lot of the very first e-com brands, and always on the operational side. So I've run the contact centres, the websites, the warehouses, the pick, pack and dispatch, shipment element, logistics of e-com businesses for 25 years before I started GoHenry. So I sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I know how to stitch together a supply chain, and I know how to set up processes and procedures and build something. That element I think was important. And then the other founders, we had one particularly strong from a marketing perspective, and the other one from really big tech infrastructure background. And so in a way, between us, we had the skills that we needed. We obviously needed to go out and make the connections with the right banking partners. Somebody we knew happened to know the head of R&D at Visa, who was based in London at the time, and managed to get us a meeting. Undoubtedly, having the brand name of Visa on the cards and on our website, undoubtedly that helped, because I think anybody in the UK, probably worldwide, if it's got Visa on it, it must have gone through the correct protocols. But it was wider than that. We were a pioneer in the category. We were the first people to launch a card for kids, with let alone with parental controls. And when you're the new kid on the block and nobody's heard of you, you have to work really hard to build a customer base that trusts you. And I think that meant we had to explain both what we were and why people needed us. We didn't have the luxury of saying, well, we're like these guys, but we're better. We had to say what we were and why it was a good idea. In the early days and now, customer advocacy has always been one of our biggest drivers. So we get a large number of customers through word of mouth, and we know one of the most important things we can do is talk to our customers, get feedback, listen to our customers, adapt the product to suit their needs, because that's the way we can be sure to stay relevant and providing a service that parents want to use, kids want to use, importantly, and that we build that trust.
That was Louise Hill from GoHenry. For the best business news, analysis and interviews, go to standard.co.uk or pick up the Evening Standard newspaper. Episodes of How to Be a CEO drop every Monday morning. We'd love to see you again.